So, welcome to episode 4 of our podcast. Such a pleasure to have our special guest, Punya, here with us today. And Punya has an offering for us to kick off our podcast in the theme of our June. Our June theme is alignment. So, tapping us into that.
Yay. Hi. Yeah, I'm really excited to share this. It's actually so appropriate because I've been really tuning in with alignment for a minute, and it's a constant journey. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to share space today to talk all about that. And what's really been coming through to share is actually this passage from the Sophia Code, which is a living transmission book. And I'm going to be reading, it's going to be talking about an inner angel of alignment that we all carry, an aspect of alignment that lives within us that's of higher navigation. And so, I'm going to read it from your inner angel's perspective, the inner angel of alignment that lives within you. Okay. So I invite you to close your eyes and to really feel these words as I share this transmission, and just to notice what happens inside of your body through this process of frequencies speaking to the cellular composition, the living genome inside of you. I continuously guide you to every tool, resource, knowledge, and intuitive wisdom that aligns you to flow with the guidance of your higher self, leading you to create at your highest potential. I also arrange physical reality to deliver messages and manifestations as encouragement for you to persevere when it may feel challenging to follow through on this guidance. Alignment easily allows for you to receive a wealth of quantum opportunities that you are not capable of achieving through effort alone. Alignment puts the ease back into your every effort. And with this grace, your feet are placed on an accelerated, direct path for embodying your self-mastery. The simple, consistent act of choosing to live in alignment with your higher self's daily guidance allows for you to accelerate positive manifestations in your life with an extraordinary momentum. This accelerated momentum spins at the speed of light within the electrons of your DNA. Within this momentum, there is an omniscient intelligence coordinating your aligned actions with a universe of divinely orchestrated synchronicities. Experiencing the satisfying perfection of your alignment, co-creating reality with the omniscient power of the universe, invites you to let go of your resistance and be swept up into this momentous flow of positive energy, taking you where your soul authentically wants to go. Your life was designed to be a radically sovereign, creative experience in which aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions shoots your awareness like an arrow into the joyful power of now. As your angel of alignment, I am an acutely focused aspect of your higher self, intentionally aligning and leveraging the greatest momentum for your greatest success in this lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, that was really potent. Yeah. And I was just telling you on the email the other day that Punya and I are, and Suzie, and maybe Gaitrie, are in a Sophia Code circle with our Joy, our other host, who is traveling today. She's traveling to Mount Shasta. And I was flipping through the book myself and randomly opened up to the Mary Magdalene section. And I had never really connected with her when I'd previously read the book, but I was just feeling her so strongly. So I did the initiation with her. And then when Punya suggested that, it was right after I was like vibing really intensely with her, creating several paintings around her. And I was like, wow, that feels so in alignment for me.
Amazing.
Yeah, so cool.
You know, Liza, it's really funny you say that, because the first time that I was going through the Sophia Code and connecting with Mary Magdalene, she didn't really resonate with me either.
Interesting.
It wasn't until the second time that it was a completely different connection that I shared with her. And yeah, alignment, the angel of alignment was one of the most powerful angels that I really connected with in that part of the Sophia Code. So it was so beautiful that you asked about anything that I might want to bring in the theme of June. And it just felt so appropriate, because that was something that really lingered with me about a month ago when I read it. So
such synchronicity. And we kind of knew, I think Joy knew about the massive eclipse portal that we'd be going through, and the literal star and galactic alignments that we're going through right now as well, but that also just feels like very synchronistic. So I would love to hear just from each of us here how everyone's alignment is resonating with each of you this month, because it's definitely unique for each of us. And just do a brief check-in, and we can each I know we'd love to have like Punya introduce yourself and kind of tell the Light Weavers community a little bit about who you are, and yeah, all the amazing things that you offer. So whoever feels inspired to go first can kind of jump in, I guess.
We always do this.
yeah, all right, I'll jump in.
Yeah, today was an interesting day. It was so beautiful out, and I was catching these like really beautiful light patterns as the wind was rustling the trees and the sunlight coming in the afternoon, and it just felt like a really magical moment. But most of the day today I was very tired. I actually slept a lot today, and I was feeling really energetically drained. So a little moment like that actually really stood out as, something magical in a day that maybe didn't feel so magical. So, but I was looking forward to just connecting with you guys, with you ladies tonight, and sharing thoughts and just kind of hearing what's going on with everybody else. I usually I go to a chiropractor here in Buffalo, Dr. Patrick O'Neill, who I would recommend, word of mouth. He's amazing. And the last time I went to go see him, he was looking over the records and said, do you realize that I usually don't see you the whole year, but right around the summer solstice, you tend to come in? And usually I wait until I'm like emotionally reaching, at a point where, I got to get something adjusted so that I can get back into alignment, So it's interesting because I'm realizing that it's close to the solstice time. I guess there's other powerful energies. So I'm just being more tender with myself during this time. Like usually I'm really angry if I feel like not a lot of energy and feel like I'm wasting time or space. But I don't know, today I just really tried to be super gentle, recognizing that there might be patterns or cycles, and, just kind of ride it out. I have the opportunity, to do that today. So I'm actually trying to feel grateful for it instead of judge it. That's where I'm at.
All right, we won't hold it up because there's only a few of us. Thank you for sharing, Suzie. That was really cool. I'm glad you got some rest and just kind of like honored that. That's awesome. So I've been like kind of just working through things, especially this month. This month has been huge in terms of just energy and just finding blockages within me and what I'm holding on to. And so you're just trying to spiritually align all of that and really kind of like clear out any like excess stuff. And also just really like clearing my throat chakra. Like that is huge for me. Like that is just a continuous like work in progress. I think that's a lot where I hold a lot of things, because sometimes I just like get to this point where I just don't want to deal with the shit. Like I don't want to deal with the problems, and I just like close off. So my heart closes off, and then my throat, well, I think it's my throat that closes off first, and then my heart closes off. So I'm trying to really, really not do that, and just kind of move this energy around so it flows a little freely. So just everything can then get into alignment, and that I feel more energetic and more grateful and more happy with things that are happening, instead of just constantly feeling that I'm on this path of just and facing blocks along the way. And so that's where I am. Today was a decent day. It wasn't too bad. Like got to enjoy some of the sun. You know, have been struggling a little. Like the kids are just, things are changing, and it's just been really difficult. So you know, I'm grateful for this community that I can express things to and that I can share with, and, you know, rejoice a little bit in some of the triumphs, but then also like be real and like, it's not easy and it's hard sometimes. So I appreciate all of you and the ear that you open up and listen. And I appreciate just the energy of this group as well. So thank you.
Hi. Yeah, so my name is Punya, and I loved that you shared, Suzie, just like this reflection of tiredness that you felt today, but still the magic that was weaving in, and I was really aligned with that as well. It's actually very interesting. I don't drink caffeine really at all, maybe like once a month. And I had coffee the past 2 days, and like at 7 o'clock each night. And that's very unlikely for me. So I've definitely been feeling that too, just like this kind of like tug of war energetically, but still like the veils are very thin right now. So because of Mercury retrograde, which is happening today, and the eclipses, we're in like in the middle of eclipse portal for like 4 weeks. So that's also happening on the summer solstice. So the veil is very thin right now. So there's definitely this kind of energy. I love alignment because there's definitely this energy of it's easier to see where the alignment might be slipping through the cracks, like where you're not feeling the alignment, and also like the sheer invitation how to get back on alignment, at least like what I've been experiencing in my path. And but there's a lot of compassion through that process, a lot of invitation to be really good and like kind to yourself, and like rest and rejuvenate and like compassionate through the process of getting back on alignment. And, you know, sometimes that's like having an ice cream sandwich like I did before my coffee. So, yeah, I feel like alignment's been very interesting for me. It's always a very interesting thing for me, but the more that I've allowed myself to connect deeper to listening and being very mindful in the present moment, I feel like the easier it's been for me to be able to hear which timeline or which path is the aligned choice for me. And every time I make a decision, it's like, even if I'm doing something where there's like judgment that's being passed, like having that ice cream sandwich, where like I catch myself, in what ways am I passing judgment on myself, to really allow myself to bring like a level of compassion through and non-judgment, because it's a choice that I feel confident in making. And so that alchemy that's taking place in that like millisecond of a moment is really, I feel, initiating like a greater depth of alignment that can follow as it proceeds onward, that moment proceeds onward. So being very mindful in the present moment has been something that's really been just speaking to me with alignment, and compassionate through that space, and reception, like super strong listening. Another beautiful thing that I'd love to bring through, I recently had a very special person to me come visit me from California. And they were just like mentioning how it's really beautiful how I give that gratitude and thanks to like everything that's happening in my life. Like I wake up in the morning and I say 5 things I'm grateful for. I drink my glass of water and I thank the water for nourishing my body. I like thank my cat Amira for snuggling with me, just like really being in this deep receptive space of like an appreciation space of gratitude. And I feel like gratitude is like this cosmic egg of creation where anything and everything is possible, because at that point you kind of like create this 0 point like recalibration space of like, whoa, I'm going to be really mindful and present and appreciate this. Even if it feels forced sometimes, it's just such an invitation to like surrender deeper into, I'm going to really allow myself to be here for a minute and like make love to this thing that I'm having appreciation for. And that has really changed a lot of my reality. I wasn't even in reflective space about it until he brought it up. And I was like, whoa, like I've really been committing and devoting to that pretty much like halfway through quarantine, because I was just home all the time. So I felt like it was something that really helped me like, well, these things that I'm doing every single day, how can I have a different like lens of looking at them? And through that lens, it's created this like higher perspective of navigation. And so that's also been a really powerful tool, I feel, for continuing to keep a momentum of exposed positivity coming through with alignment. And even if it's like something that I'm doing that maybe wasn't aligned, it softens the sharpness, because I realize there's something to be learned through that experience. And it's not like, oh, I'm shaming myself. It's like, oh, there's just something to be learned, because my higher self took me down that path to gain wisdom to continue down the path of alignment. So yeah, that's kind of where I've been with alignment. It's been a really beautiful experience, and yeah, it's awesome. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Yeah, I could feel the beauty of your gratitude and appreciation, and just I recognize that sensory shift, and it's something that I've been feeling myself the last couple weeks. I started just committing to a regular morning practice where I'm just making sure that I'm up by like 7:45, and at 8 I just sit and I'm starting my day with devotion. And that could mean something different, but it's a half hour. And this morning I had Suzie join me, which was such a treat. So I'm holding myself accountable by just opening up my Zoom room, and whoever might want that or need that, or, you know, it's just so perfect because I need the accountability too. So it was amazing. The first person I had join me was Suzie today, and that felt so good. But I did notice, because I struggle with or have struggled in the past with a lot of anxiety and depression. And I've noticed just these last 2 or 3 weeks, I mean, of course, it's a beautiful time of the year and the sun is out, which is also really good, but there's a really distinct difference. I feel really connected. I feel really in alignment just by starting my day with, you know, a prayer, a little bit of Sophia code time, a little bit of body movement. And I think there's something so valuable about starting your day like that, because it's like, how do we build, you know, for aligning something like the base of the spine, it needs to be kind of solid first. And then, you know, the rest of the moments of the day can kind of have a place to land, have a place to be held. But if we're kind of cranky or thrown off, it can be harder to come into alignment later in the day, I find. So I love that. Yeah.
Can I pose a question?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Because, I mean, sometimes that works great for some people. I have been trying to make your morning sessions, but it's really difficult as a mom of 3. And so how do you, you know, I mean, how would you like help someone who is struggling with building that morning routine? you know, like how, are there any suggestions? Are there any like maybe tips, maybe from anyone, like anything that you may have experienced before in the past? Like, and it doesn't have to be a mom of three. It can be somebody who, you know, has to be at work at like 7 o'clock in the morning. You're like, so is it just waking up earlier? Is it maybe closing the night with gratitude so it can kind of like float through the evening and hopefully set you for a good morning? I don't, you know, I'm still trying to rebuild my morning routine.
Amazing. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that really comes down to what works for the individual. And I just feel grateful to have found something that like actually is working for me that I'm following through on.
Which I think is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want so badly for you to get to experience that and to have that sacred space. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You could take time before bed, that if that feels good for you. You could take maybe when the kids are napping. I know sometimes maybe not every day they nap, but when they're napping, you could just take that. Oh, sorry, my dog's just coming up here. You could take that, even take like 10 minutes for yourself to just sit with the Sophia Code, or sit with, like I've been sitting outside sipping my coffee and just looking at like the breeze blowing on the leaves and the light. And it's so peaceful. And especially this time of year is just so beautiful. And there's so much to just witness. So it's not anything specific, but it's the little things throughout the day that is just slowing down to be in this moment. So whether it's washing your dishes or brushing your girl's hair or putting their clothes on or cleaning up diapers or whatever, I think it comes easier when we even just putting your feet on the ground first thing in the morning, just as you're rolling out of bed, whether someone's crying for you, just taking that moment to put your feet down and just say, thank you for this day. It could be as simple as that.
I guess, you know, it makes me ask the question because it doesn't need to look like a certain way. It doesn't need to look like somebody else's way. But it seems like what you're saying is that really just make it your own. You know, and find that gratitude, like as you're kind of making your way, it doesn't need to look like somebody else's. So I appreciate you, you know, opening me up to that, because I think I was holding on to like, oh my God, I want to be able to do that and like sit and journal and do yoga, and but you know, it doesn't work.
I forget how privileged I am, you know what I mean, to even have that as an option. Because sometimes it's like, oh, I have to get up early, or like, and it's ridiculous. Like for me, it's like 7:30 early. I'm like, okay, obviously I have it pretty good. But yes, that was a perfect question, because I think a lot of people are absolutely struggling with that. So I'd love to hear from the other women too, what they think, and maybe some other ideas. Yeah.
Thank you, Eliza.
I don't mind jumping in right away if that's okay, because when I traveled to Naples, Florida, and I ended up staying a little bit longer than I had intended, and the woman that I was staying with at the time was sharing with me her routine. You know, just her daily routine was very ritual, very regimented, and I've always been very opposed to routine. I've never liked waking up. The 9-to-5 thing just like wasn't something that I was really good at. And so this notion of, wow, how important the morning ritual is, you know, are you nourishing yourself? Are you drinking water? Are you starting your day with gratitude? So I have this app on my phone called Insight Timer, and there's some things that you can find in there. I was looking for courses, and there's a whole section that says building a successful morning routine. And so there's a bunch of different courses, they're free. And there was one, it was a couple from Australia, and they were sharing over the course of 10 days, each day they kind of took a different aspect of something that's really helpful to start your day, whether it's mindful movement, making yourself mindfully eat your breakfast or drink your coffee, you know, instead of just kind of slamming it down or doing your thing. But the first day they started with gratitude. And so they both shared how they wake up with gratitude. And I really liked what the woman shared. She said, every morning before I even get out of bed, this is all I do, is I use my 10 fingers and I think of 10 things that I'm grateful for. But the last 3, I have to be something that I'm grateful for about myself. You know, like my willingness to learn, which was really, really hard for me. It was like, okay, even if it's something, and this was the interesting thing. Some mornings it's like you could rattle off 10, 12, 15 things, you know, you're just waking with this wonder already. But for many of us, or many days, or some days, you know, it's really hard. It can be hard. It's like you're dreading what you have to do that day, or you're just in an uncomfortable place. And so what I found was like the easiest thing was to start with, I hear birds singing outside and that's nice, you know, or the bed is really comfortable and that's why I don't get out of it, you know, but you know, and once you just kind of get the ball rolling, it can even, there's this awesome Nina Simone song too. And she's just like, I've got my eyes, I've got my nose, I've got my ears, you know, and, you know, so even if it just has to come to those very basic things, it's like just starting your day with gratitude was one of the things that they said was foundational.
I love that.
Because I always tried to commit to writing 5 things, and then sometimes you don't have your journal, or you just like rush to work, and you know, but just using your fingers, I think that that's a really beautiful thing. Evening, morning, lunchtime, you know, so.
I like that, and I actually have Insight Timer, so I'm going to be looking that up.
Yeah, I wonder if I can send you the
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll poke around.
Possibly.
It's really helpful. Yeah. Another thing is mindful movement. Anything that you can do to just tune into your body, realizing that at night things do stiffen up and kind of film forms on our muscles, which sounds weird, but that's why just even moving a little bit, and doesn't have to be long. Also, the last thing I'll say is I have a friend who would share with me when her kids were little. She would actually, because she never had time to meditate in the evening, because there was always bedtime, and then morning was just always getting them ready for school. So one of the things she said was she actually built them into her mindfulness time. Like she would share with them, like, okay, you know, every evening it only has to be, you know, 5 minutes, or because they would get squirrely and, you know, wiggly. But she said it was really helpful because it was just, it became the pattern. And they said, well, for 5 minutes, we're just going to sit and we're going to breathe together, you know, or it might be a story time, or it might just be silent. It might be the kids sharing on their fingers what they're grateful for. She said when they were little and she had very little time for herself, she tried to just include her children. And in essence, that's helping them build a healthy habit for themselves.
Absolutely.
Young age, you know, so.
Yeah. It's funny that you said that. I actually, my little one this morning was just a hot mess. Hot mess, like just bawling her eyes out for, you know, she was experiencing emotions. And I get that. And so you know, they're 21 months old, but I sat her on my lap, I wiped her face, and I'm like, okay, I understand you're feeling a certain way. I get it. I totally get it. You can feel what you feel. What I want you to do when you're ready is to take a deep breath in with me and then exhale it out. And for a 21-month-old, when I said breathe in, inhale, she went, and then she exhaled, and she just like leaned in and she gave me a hug. And I was just like, like that was like, yeah. So it's like, yes. And like that did happen. I'm not exaggerating. And it was just, you know, I definitely weave my children into my yoga practice and breathing techniques but I let them write out their emotions. Like you feel that, you understand that, you know, and when you're ready, we're going to breathe together and we're just going to like see this through. So I love that story, Suzie. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that.
The world needs more moms like you.
Yeah, is there any way we can get this podcast out to moms everywhere? Like they're coming,
right.
Their dads, they're gonna have to feel their feelings.
Well, no, I mean, that story just reminded me, and yes, I am. And if we close off the night with that, like, yes, I'm grateful for that moment because I saw it. I saw that change happen in her. And that reminds me, like, these things really are impactful. And the more we practice it, the more we show up and we do it, others are going to see it and they're going to get that. They're going to see. And, you know, I did a lot of it with my son. And I think just I'm in this fog right now because the girls are transitioning to different stages and emotions and regression and things like that. So sometimes I get foggy in remembering these things, but it's these talks, it's talking through, it's, you know, these reminders that I need. So I appreciate all of you. Oh my God, thank you. And I can't wait to hear what Punya has to say, because I feel like she has something for me.
You know, like, I love that you shared that about your daughter, because the reason that we choose to wake or continue the journey of awakening is because there's like a desire for something more, right? And that something more is actually like entering this higher space of possibility and wonder and magic. And that's what children that are so close to coming from consciousness already have access to.
Mm.
And so applying these tools for children, it makes complete sense to me that they would immediately link up to that energetically and feel drawn to that and feel that love, like feel the release and the surrender, because it's like our emotions are like very like of, I feel like our feelings and emotions are our direct connection to like great spirit, but that's because we're older and like adults. But children, it's kind of like them acting their human out, like to get what they want as a human, right? Like, but there's something about, I loved your presence even about not reacting to that. Like, I'm sure the timbre of your voice was really soothing through that experience as well, like calm and collected and peaceful. And it's like children pick up on those frequencies. Like, I don't have any kids, but I have a Bengal cat. And I know Eliza knows that it's kind of like having a kid to some degree. They need a lot of attention. And she literally, like, Bengals have 500 different meows. So they actually do communicate to you. And we have conversations, and her meows are completely different when I'm speaking to her in different tones. And she can pick up on that frequency. And so I love that when you were sharing your story, I could immediately feel the timbre of your voice. And one thing that was even coming through for me before you were saying that about the breath, I'm like, you know, I don't know if you know what light language is, or like light chanting.
We literally,
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
like,
guys.
even just like activating that energy with your kids, like that would like stop them in their tracks. Like, they'd be like, what are you doing? Because it's so foreign, right? And it's like, and so playful, and like actually healing them and their cellular composition. So it's like, that was another thing that was coming through when you were sharing about the breath. And it's just like, I am so ready to be a mother. It's like absolutely insane, but I still need to find my partner. So not fully ready yet, but like, wow, like I'm sure the most humbling experience to go through that journey, and just how to be able to really do that work as like a matriarch, like light warrior, like that is true, like matriarch light warriorship. And so I acknowledge and applaud like you even having the desire to want to also have a routine for yourself so you can show up as your best self for you and your family. And I think continuing to incorporate these things that we do every day that we know help us feel bliss and love and peace is also just such a beautiful offering for children to grow up in this world experiencing and feeling, and so needed. It is so needed, because obviously, like, we need to do it to be able to like be in alignment, to be able to like know how to act throughout our day, have conversations, carry conversations, like get up and do our work, like whatever it is we're doing. And so it only makes sense to me that, you know, more parents would want to do this work with their children. I think it's extremely important, and I hope one day it's in schools everywhere, to be honest. So yeah, I just really acknowledge that, and it's really, really beautiful. And yeah, and then I also just wanted to share for you personally, who likes tapas here? Everyone?
I like all food.
Yeah.
I like food.
So good, right? Like, who doesn't like tapas? Because it's like, Or like a good, like, what is it? Like a buffet, right? Like maybe like, let's talk about, sometimes we can go to those like, you know, grungy kind of spots, but like 5-star spots, like buffet. Hell yeah. Like everybody loves that. And it's like, that's how I treat my ritual practice or my morning practice. It's like, I have absolutely no plan on what that looks like. It's like, I check in with my heart. That's what I do. I check in with my heart and I'm like, heart, what would you like? Is really like what we're trying to do is access peace, love, and bliss, right? And so it's like, heart, what would you like to do? And I love that Eliza and Suzie, you've both brought in like movement. Usually every single day I do some sort of stretching because we carry so much energy like in different parts of our body, and just to like loosen that up in our spinal fluid, or like, you know, the hips hold our emotions, to be able to like move that all out. I typically try to do that every day as well. And so, and then at least sitting there in stillness, even just for 5 minutes, like makes the world of difference. I think there's a lot of negative connotation of like, you have to sit here for this amount of time. It's like, your heart will tell you exactly what you need. There's no right way to do anything, because every single person's a different walking galaxy. And so it's like, how could you compare yourself to someone else? So I feel just like really allowing ourselves to tap into like our hearts, because that's ultimately what we're trying to access anyway in that moment, is to feel love, to make love to the moment. And I feel mindfulness is another, like with what we were sharing right in the beginning, it's like, I definitely wanted to mention Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm sure you know who he is. Do you know who he is? Oh, you got to check him out, girl. He's like mindfulness 101. Like check him out. Like if you just want to know a little bit more about being able to access that, because you are such a busy mom and like a good mom and creating so much devotion. Like I remember I had this whole exercise of just brushing my teeth, and like the amount of making love to the moment that I felt brushing my teeth was extraordinary. So it's like also realizing we don't need to separate our life. Like life is a walking meditation. It's just like really exposing ourselves to making love to the moment and doing it the way your heart wants.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Yes, I'll definitely look him up.
Love that. Love that. Yeah.
Hey,
Thich Nhat. Yeah. Hi, Joey. Welcome.
Hi, Joy.
Joy.
Tell us how your adventures are doing. How are you doing today? And what's feeling in alignment, or how are you feeling about the word alignment today?
Oh yeah, I love that, Punya. You were just talking about making love to the moment. Is that how you just said that?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you guys. So you, most of you know, I'm on this spiritual pilgrimage right now to Mount Shasta, and we just landed in just north of Salt Lake City in Utah. But earlier today, we woke up in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I knew that like less than an hour away there was this place called Vaudeville. I'm not even sure if I ever say that right, but it's this really magical place. And we had this really beautiful practice this morning. We did this Kriya practice together and a meditation. We called in the guides. We just like had Temple of Sophia moment this morning before we went anywhere. And when we showed up to this place, I could see the dragons everywhere, like, and giants and fairies and like all of these beings. And like, I was just like, oh my God, I could not have seen any of these beings, like literally like feeling like living alignment right now. This is like buzzing and being. I know that I would not have been able to have that experience that I had today. We climbed up these boulders, this place called Turtle Rock, and everywhere there's these dragons. And Janelle, who's the 10-year-old I'm traveling with, she's like, this dragon is all in pieces. We have to weave it back together. And I was like, yeah, we do. So we climbed up this rock, like climbed. It's her first experience bouldering. And she's just like, I want to follow you everywhere. So I had to like pay attention. I was like, oh, I have somebody following me. I can't just do the crazy stuff I normally do. And I ended up, talk about alignment. This blew my mind today. I was like, okay, we're going to go as high as we can go. Cause she kept saying, I want to go to the top. And I was like, well, we'll go as high as we can go, as high as it makes sense to go. We'll go to the perfect place and we'll sing this dragon awake. She's like, okay, we're going to do this. And so I get to this place, and I can't see where I'm going until I'm there. And when I look, I'm standing on this flat surface, and behind me is the heart of this dragon. I look up, and it's like the head of the dragon. And I look out and across the highway, like, I don't even know how far away, there's a pyramid directly in front of my heart. Like,
Wow.
I'm standing in a grid, and I started singing and shouting and singing and shouting. And this whole thing just came out of me. And I was like, I am the grid. Like, I am the grid. I can't help but be in the right place at the right time. I don't even have to like try to do anything. I'm just like, okay, well, I know I have to get up there. I know, this little girl is telling me we need to sing this dragon awake and like weave it back together. And I'm like, yes, that's what we're doing. And I look across, there's another dragon. It's a mama dragon. It's smiling at me. It's got bunnies and there's a skull. There's all of these beings in the rocks that I couldn't see before. We ended up in this I was just like totally mind blown. This place is called Turtle Rock, this magical mountain. And I'm just like, oh, the turtles are becoming the dragons. Like, I could see this, just all of these things unfolding, so magical. And I'm just like buzzing, like so buzzing, like looking at the sky, the clouds are telling me things that I've never been able to really see before. Like, I'm seeing all these new stories, and they're all like these incredible stories as I'm headed towards Mount Shasta. Like, just angels showed up last night. 2 nights ago, when we were in a really like seedy place, a police officer came and was like, are you ladies from around here? And he was like, please don't stay in this city tonight because it's not the place for you. And then another man came and told us where we should go to find a better place to stay. And we were like,
wow.
Okay. And then we lost our car today, and these angels came to me and were like, are you lost? And I was like, yes, as a matter of fact, I am. And they were like, hop in the back of the truck. We'll take you to your car. And we're just like, okay. It's like, so like, I feel like I'm just like living alignment right now. And with all of the things happening in astrology, I can feel things building towards this solstice and this eclipse, and even the one beyond that. And just, I don't know, I'm like, obviously I'm buzzing and like sitting under this tree right now. Like, I have to, because I'm just like, life is so beautiful. I just kept having this incredible heart explosion where I felt like I could feel the dragon beings in these rocks singing through my body. I could feel the vibrations, and I was just like, I had to stop and take breaths, because I was like, I don't know if I can contain this much bliss right now. Like, it's like totally, oh my gosh, so amazing and beautiful. I'm so grateful. Thank you for hearing my story.
Thank you for sharing.
Love it.
Yeah.
It was so funny. So Punya, it was just, we were sort of talking about starting our days with alignment. It sounds like you had this like amazing morning to kind of get you into this alignment. And so you of course had this beautiful blessed day. And then Punya was recommending to Gaitrie to use soothing sounds for her children, and she was asking if we knew what light language was, and we all started laughing. I didn't actually get to respond, but so Joy is now on this quest with Chelsea, who we had on our previous episode, and she just taught us what light language was, and she demonstrated it for us. So it was so special. And I don't think I had sort of seen an example of it, like this woman on Instagram, but none of us really knew what it was. Is that something that you practice as well, Punya, or you experience?
Oh, yeah, I do light language and light song pretty much every day.
I remember you singing once after a Dancing Freedom or Voyager session.
Yes, that
in
was
Buffalo. And I was just like so moved. Would you be willing to share with us like a light language or song moment?
Yeah,
a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting. Like, there's something that happened. It's kind of like, our voice can heal us. And so when we allow our own voice, like, That's another thing that's honestly just happened the past 2 weeks, where in my ritual practice, every time I work with Hathor, I call in light language and light song, and it just naturally is channeling through me. And no matter what uncomfortability I'm experiencing, as soon as my voice, I hear my voice, my cells hear my voice, my bones, my blood, my organs, everything, it's like all of the shit just melts away. And it's like this immediate, like orgasmic energy that channels through my body, because it's like sound. I mean, I'm sure everybody here is obsessed with music and like obsessed with sound. It's right. Like there's a reason that we love to move to it, that we feel like we're taken out of body, that we feel like we're taken into the earth. And so when your own voice can do that to you, it's like extremely, extremely powerful. And yeah, I would love to share, I'd love to share a little something. That sounds awesome.
Cool.
I'm gonna mute.
All right. I'm feeling light chant, but we'll see if it goes into light song too. I don't know what's going to happen. So we'll just see what happens. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the openness and the availability to receive out of curiosity. The om sekalachi kanto fayate, santo rito hambeasa, ensu ambehayon tu kanepi monteanti, densu kun le haitu kumbe anta shuku fayate, onsu kun le wense kinti anti shuku fayate, shenku pite anti shiku ante. Shenku putorante shikundeante hat.
It was so stunning. I could feel it like in my body. And it sounds so similar when Chelsea, like it sounds so similar to Chelsea's language too, in the other language I've heard. So it's like, I understand the opening your body and letting the sounds through, but it's like so fascinating that it's like an actual language that like our bodies understand. And I'm so curious if it's different languages that people are channeling, or if it's like all just like one light language, or what. Honestly, if you know anything about that.
I have no idea. It was actually very interesting for me the first time that I had a conversation with someone in light language. I met this man whose name is Tara. He's an amazing musician, an amazing human being. And we connected, and I was at some like gathering in California, and we both got on the topic of light language. And I remember I was so nervous and intimidated when he was like, let's have a conversation. And I was like, well, I'm so scared. I've never like, talked like this out in the open. Like, I don't know what to do. And it was just this, like, just being with all of it. And then like allowing ourselves just to like, as soon as we started like talking, all the stuff was there, the uncomfortability for me at least. But as we started conversing, it was like, it all just kind of melted away. And it was like you're saying, Eliza, it was just like the different like energy pockets of our body and center and experiences were like picking up on those frequencies. It's almost like telepathy and like telekinetic like communication and all of that. It's like very similar, I think, to what light language and light song does, because it just opens up this spirit language that doesn't need to get lost in words. And like more of this sensorial exploration. Like I actually was with my family like last weekend at like a lake house, and we had a fire going, and I was with my cousin who's like a cop and his family and my parents. I laugh because it's so funny how 3D everybody is. And we were like at the bonfire, and I had my bison drum. And I was like, and my little cousins like are totally into it. Like my second cousins are totally into it. They're just like all about the magic all the time. And they just love how weird I am. So it's like, they love it. Like, you know, with what you're sharing, Joy, like this little girl who's like, let's find the dragons. Like they're the same way. Like, let's hit the bison drum and like sing words. And I'm like, yeah. And so I started to sing like light chant. And it was really beautiful actually to witness I could sense the uncomfortabilities of everybody in my family around that bonfire, but I could also sense like the deep presence and awareness and curiosity that was within all of that. And eventually the light song moved into words and phrases of words. Like that was what was channeling through. And there was this, like, I remember the phrase that was coming through is like something around like, we sit around this fire, we sit around the heart of our home. And it was like to say those, that was just channeling and coming through like with my very 3D family. It was like when the English started to come out, as the light language was starting to embrace them, like they didn't judge that. They were actually able to like find relief and peace through it. Like the energy was so available. And it really did create an alchemy shift after all of that. And it was honestly the first time I think I've ever sang light song around more of my extended family. So, you know, I think there's a very strong call right now for more of these transmissions to be shared from the divine feminine on this planet, because there's something really beautiful that happens. Even the first memory I actually have, and I feel so grateful to have this memory, and it's something that I ask all of my clients when I do earth essence consultations with them. It's like, what's your first memory? And my first memory actually is of my mother holding me in her arms on a rocking chair, singing to me about being the apple of my father's eye, and like singing this song to me. And I'm like, whoa, like, you know, that's like what awoke my consciousness, was music. And so to be able to help, I think there's something really powerful right now going on with frequencies, that we have the ability to help people awaken to a next level without getting lost in like the very human concept of words.
I love that.
Yeah.
It is so much like Gaitrie was saying earlier too. It's like, we don't have to tell people what to do. We just show by example, by living it, you know, and it becomes that daily practice, that meditation, and people are naturally just drawn to it because they're like, what's going on with you? I like that. You know, and it's not a judging, oh, you should do it like me, do it this way. It's like how can I help you find that love within you, that to like build that fire within yourself too, because it feels so good. I just naturally want you to experience it too. It's like a whole different, just feels like there's so much more available for sharing now in like an easeful, loving way, at least for me personally. I'm so grateful for that. Yeah.
So how do you practice light language? How do you did you receive a message that, if you don't mind me asking, you know?
Yeah, actually, thank you for asking that. You know, it was something that kind of just was seated in my awareness, like this conversation right now, right? Like the one you had, the last podcast you had. It's kind of like the messages from the universe is the synchronicities. And it's like, at that point, it started to seed into my cells. And so what I started to do was just kind of play with it. And it was really awkward at first, but I was just like in this space of meditation. And I'm like, okay, what wants to come through me? And I have actually always had a very like, I am a singer, and I've had like an artistic background. I have an artistic background, but there was always this disconnect for me with words and with like writing actual like lyrics. Like I always had such a disconnect with that. And I have even just a really strong disconnect with writing in general. Speaking, I can like, you know, paint all the colors of the rainbow when I speak and like ground it and like bring it up into like the highest planes of divinity. But it's like when I actually have to like put something down on paper, it's really difficult for me. And so that kind of created an opening for me. It was uncomfortable to start just kind of like playing, but it was just something where I invited it. I invited light language to work with me. I invited light song to work with me and asked it to flow through me, asked my cells to just like let things come out. At first it was just sounds, and eventually it started moving into like playing with syllables, and it just started to kind of take a shape all on its own. There's really like no right way to do it. I think it's actually just deciding to partner with it, like collaborating with it and being like, hey, like I'm inviting you to move through me. And maybe like even I'm inviting you, what wants to come out to help this part of me that feels uncomfortable or feels depressed or feels ecstatic? What wants to be shared through that sensorial experience? And then it's very awkward at first. At least it was for me. It was a very awkward experience. And I didn't start sharing it for like, honestly, until like maybe 8 or 9 months, like after I started doing it. And I had actually done a, what was it? It was Bufo. I had done a Bufo ceremony, and which is kind of like 5-MeO DMT. And but I did like a very small amount of it, and it was kind of this Shakti pot experience as well when I was in California. So I had basically taken Bufo, but I had done it with this this Hindu doctor, and we had done like he did like a Shakti pot blessing, and it was basically like we were trying to grid and create like a grid of love on the planet. And so it was a very small dose, but when I did it, I received this vision. And the day before I had done that ceremony, I was actually in Venice Beach in LA, and I was in an Egyptian shop, of course, and like on the beach, and this really insane fight broke out like on the beach, like maybe 50 feet away from me. And there was like all of this really wounded masculine energy. Like they had a knife, they were like fighting, and everybody was just kind of standing around like spectating it. And the sister that I was with, like we started finding ourselves getting in that trap, and I was like, whoa, we have to stop. We need to send love right now. And so it was going on for like 10 minutes, like 5 or 10 minutes before we even really heard it. And we were like catching the wave ourselves of like not getting lost in that. And within like 30 seconds of us sending love, like it stopped. And they walked like right past us also. And like we were still like in that space of sending love. And so I had had a vision from the day before come through in that ceremony. And I was told that if I shared my light song and my light chant, that I would have the ability to bring love through in the present moment to heal and to alter all pain and sorrow and all like wounded energy. And so literally after that ceremony, like I was shown what could have happened if I walked in with that music. And so after that ceremony, it was kind of like this liberation that I then totally had. And it was like full channeling at that point, because I understood it was no longer just for me. It was also to literally help heal humanity. So at that point, me collaborating with that act of service, it was like rushing through to really be channeled and shared.
Mm. So potent. Talk about alignment.
Yeah, I feel like we should get together and do like light song and light channeling, like circles.
I've been feeling that so strongly. Yeah, so I've been saying that for like, you and I have been wanting to get together for like a year or two to make music.
I know.
It's so interesting because I think what unfolds from it will be very powerful, and maybe I personally wasn't ready for it. Maybe the world wasn't ready for it. You know, it's interesting.
You know, that's how I met Joy.
Right.
Joy and I met through music. So it's just like so wild. Like I remember we were singing about dragons, and I'm like, whoa, like this goddess. Like, yes, like I think there's something really powerful happening with sound right now. That's like an activation of the divine feminine that's like really needing to surge through the planet, because there's so much, even if you just see what just happened in this world with quarantine and everything that's happening, right? It's like there's so much like getting lost in like the war on thought, and like it's in mind games, and it's like, how can we move it all back into the body, and how can we allow our spirit and our body to like help soothe our mind?
Yeah, they say everything is sound, like it's all just vibrational energy. And so as we come into our bodies and we're using our voices to like create that resonance, that's opening a channel, that is aligning us, that is like our soul song.
Oh, soul song, I love that. That's beautiful. Wow.
And I think just as we gently like become aware of the impact of our own voice, like Joy's been having us read out loud these chapters from the Sophia Code, and I notice I drop into a lower octave and I feel like more sensual and stronger, and there's a whole different part of myself that comes through versus the hi, everything's okay, like yeah, it's like it's a whole different register. And so it's attuning me, and just an interesting practice of kind of dropping in to feel more safety, feel more connected to my physicality. And I savor each of those sentences because it's a living transmission, you know, I can feel it as I'm saying it. So it's been such a gift. Yeah.
And to me, what is so interesting about the Sophia Code, and talking about light language, and I resonate as well. It's interesting, Punya, when you were talking about like not necessarily feeling so easily using of words in song transmission. I feel like working with the Sophia Code to speak this language of light, to speak light language in English, in words that my mind can understand, has been healing for my mind, my consciousness, my awareness, my whole body. Then I can understand what it is I'm bringing into my body, so that then my language of light transmission is in English. The songs that I sing, you know, I feel this the same way I feel that energy when you're speaking in this beautiful tongue that's like otherworldly. I've been feeling that when I create my music. I can feel it in the frequency. Like, and I feel like light language is just that. It's however the light comes through your vessel, it's as simple as that. If you're feeling the chills in your body, you're feeling that resonance, you're feeling the expansion, and you're witnessing the light shine bright through your crystalline being, then you're using light language in whatever way it wants to express. So it doesn't have to be super complicated, and we can understand it if we, you know, if that works for us too. And I really feel like the Sophia Code is such a powerful, it's a powerful tool in teaching us that we can understand it as well, and it can become more just something like we are beings of light. So as we shine brighter and we speak, whatever it is we're speaking is coming out of that place of light. Whatever, you know, the dancing, the movements, the, you know, the grid working, the painting, Eliza's paintings. Like when I see your paintings, Eliza, when you send me these photos, I've received this powerful transmission where I'm just like, oh my God, like this is so spot on. Like you've said so many things without saying a single word, you know, and like I can feel that energy deep in my being, and I like can see these photos, these images in my mind, like, and I carry them with me, and I feel like they affect me, you know. So like light language, I'm really speaking to this because I can see a little bit of the like, I really want to understand what this is, and it's like part of it you don't really have to understand. You just, it's an expression of being the light that we already are. So just to say, y'all all got it, just trust it and like let it flow, because we're doing it. That's the work that we're here to do, just as light beings on this planet anyways.
Yeah, Joy, I appreciate that too, because it's almost like a reclaiming of language. So I really appreciate that, like the reclaiming of like the normalcy that we've created with language, and having like mindful intention in the words that we're saying that are like clearly painting a beautiful picture just with our heart.
Totally. Like for me today, I have like a very specific example. We were driving in the car and it was told to us like, oh, there was an accident, it's gonna be, your route is gonna be slowed down. And immediately I put my hands out without even thinking. I do this without even thinking now. My hands go out and I'm sending light and love, and I'm like, clear the way, everybody's safe and healed and whole, like everybody's protected, you know, just like clearing the pathway and sending the angels that need to go there. Like that's the transmission. That's what we're here to do. Like we're living angels on this planet. So, you know, and every time we do that, like we've been sending angels on our path forwards and backwards, and actually receiving angels coming to us when we need them. So it's like when we can claim that power that we are, that we came here to be, not only are we like creating the more space and light for ourselves in our own lives, but in the lives of everyone around us, and anyone that we come into contact with. We're literally weaving a new reality for everyone that we come into experience with.
I do want to presence our 5-minute kind of closing countdown here. So kind of starting to wrap up. How's all this landing with you, Suzie?
Yeah. I find it fascinating. I was thinking about a really powerful experience a couple of years, I think it was a few years ago. And Eliza, I think it was it was an event that you held, and there was a woman down by the beach in the evening, and it was unlike anything I had ever experienced at the time. She just channeled in this other language of these other beings, and it didn't make any sense, but it was so powerful. And she kind of walked around as she was speaking. And I didn't know how to explain that to anybody. I don't think I ever even really like talked about it again. Certainly not with my family or anybody, but just even, you know, and I remember just thinking, how did she learn that language? Like, how did she learn? I mean, I've been trying to learn Spanish forever. And yeah, I don't know. So the whole notion of light language is very new to me. I'm reading the Sophia Code for my first time, and I can feel some resistances to these things while I also feel intrigue. I like the idea that magical things and mysterious things exist, like dragons. But, you know, my intellectual mind is just kind of always at war with it, you know? I mean, not to sound so intense, but there's just always this questioning that happens. And so I'm just learning to be a little bit more present to allowing it, instead of getting so worked up by it. Like I have to decide, do I believe in light language? Do I not? Am I supposed to be a channel? Am I not? Should I be calling it in? You know, it's just, I think I'm just stepping back and letting things be a little bit easier. Just listening, kind of like, you know, I mean, it's hard for me to not relate it to things present in the world right now, societally speaking, and with Black Lives Matter and movements that are happening. You know, I'm really finding that I don't really have opinions. You know, usually I'm very opinionated, but right now I'm just really wanting to be more of a listening presence. Just because when you're listening, I love, there's really simple quote that says, you know, it's like a question: why do you have 2 ears and only 1 mouth? It's like, oh, so you can hear twice as much as you speak, because you're learning when you're listening, but when you're speaking, you're either teaching or just talking nonsense. You know, so yeah, so thanks for asking how it's landing. It's just like, it's landing among everything else, and it's fascinating and it's beautiful. And yeah, I'm just thinking, I'm calling in gratitude, you know, where normally it would just be like questioning, this isn't for me, I don't know, do I even belong with these like incredible beings? I'm just thinking like, oh, I'm grateful that I have exposure to this, I'm grateful that, you know, these people have called me into their presence, you know, that Sophia code is in my possession. You know, it's like maybe nothing needs to make sense. And that's actually more okay than I have been willing to allow it to be. Or as Joy beautifully said, maybe it's okay that it's not okay, that it's not okay. I was like, maybe that's right. Now it's be okay that it's not okay, that it's not okay, that it's not okay. Whatever. It's all good. Mm-hmm. Cool.
It's definitely a spiral.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's funny, I have like someone in my life who's always like, you know, would say like but a lot, and I'm like, and like it just I'm putting an and, like it's everything and it's nothing and it's everything and it's nothing, and that's why it's awesome.
Yes.
Because it's like infinite potentiality.
Yes. I don't know what I was listening to the other day, but I think it was I've been so into Kaya Ra. I was listening to one of the Kaya Ra YouTube videos, and she said, you know, people say to me often like, it's all one, so like why do you have to break it down into these like layers or try to understand the orders, you know, because it's like we're all just one. Well, it's like, yes, we are one. However, the joy and complexity and magic and the mystery comes from us all also being in these perfectly ordered, amazingly synchronistic, unique experiences. And that is the magic. That's why we would choose to go from the source, from the one to, you know, we're never leaving it, but we're fractaling off into like an individual sovereign being with the choice to come to be that being. Some part of us, whether or not we can see it, you know, chose to come in, and then we get to choose each day, you know, are we going to align with the bigger part of us that knows that there's a purpose and has faith in that oneness that we inherently are? Or we can look through it with the eyes of the individual who sees this crazy, huge, massive world and so many people and so many things, and it's so confusing and it's so complex. And it's like, I think for so long I struggled with that too, trying to understand it all and trying, like, is this for me? Is that for me? Should, you know? And then it just, at some point, it's like there's a surrendering that happens and sort of a wearing down, and then it's like wave after wave after wave of pain or whatever it is, and then you're like, oh, I actually don't need to suffer. I don't need to like figure it out. I can choose to just enjoy the ride. I can just choose to like love, and I can sort of give up the trying to need to figure it all out. And that, like, just calling on help each morning or throughout your day, like when I have those moments, I'm just pausing, like, okay, I feel anxiety, and then I'll just call on, you know, God or angels or whatever you want to call it. Please help me to surrender this and to process it, and, you know, for my highest good and the highest good of all, or whatever, you know, naturally wants to come through in the moment. And I'm like, oh, I don't have to do it alone. Like I don't have to ever be in suffering anymore. And it's kind of a conscious, like, I think just like anything, the more that you are in that state, or the more that you're feeling goodness, the more you're aware of when something feels off. And then you can just bring it. It's like a simple, like, oh, okay, just bring it back in, just kind of staying in this beautiful place. I guess that was, I don't know, that one to come through. That was a big sort of.
You know, a lot of it's like a practice. I think that's really important for people to know too. It's just like anything. Like if you want to become stronger, you like take care of your body, you go to the gym and you eat healthier. If you like, you know, in your physical body, if you want to become strong in your mind, you like read and you like, you know, expand your consciousness. It's the same thing with like working on that level of, I'd say, partnership with your higher self in a lot of ways. It's like, it's a practice. It's not something that just happens like that. It's like, yes, you make a choice, but it's like, you have to continue to hold yourself accountable to that choice. And accountable is like actually the word that I thought for 2020. Like I was like, accountability is like the word for 2020. Like it's because it really is this level of like, I'm activating the accountability that I'm choosing to actually initiate my healing and my choice to feel good, and not like just surface level good, but like I'm going to create devotion around this partnership to create good. So I really, I think I love that you're doing that work. Like it's such a, and I feel like all of quarantine is when I started really activating that for myself as well. Just really like having this eagle lens. And I love that you brought me an eagle feather for my birthday. It's like so appropriate. Like this eagle lens of just like, hey, I need to see everything from this higher perspective of the way that I'm navigating, like in the moment, and not shaming yourself, just like, oh, hey, help me, angels. Hey, help me, higher self. Hey, help me, bunny animal totem that came to me today. Like, just help me through this process. Like, that would be really lovely. I'd love your support. Like, that would, it's just like, it's all one big cosmic joke after all. So it's like, make it a playground. Like, really, like, have an amazing time. Like, see it as magical. And yeah, it's like there is something really powerful happening right now with the magic and the veils that are very thin. So I feel like it's really appropriate that we're having this entire conversation and just the availability of how malleable reality can actually be.
That's a mic drop moment. Mic drop moment there, Punya.
Drop moment.
Gaitrie, how are you doing? You're such a good listener. She's always so taking it all.
So peaceful. Like you're
so peaceful.
It's so peaceful. You really are like a sturdy tree. It's like amazing to me. Like, a guy, like you are literally like Sophia Gaia, like embodied. Like it's beautiful.
Oh my gosh, that's such a beautiful compliment. Thank you. I mean, I'm definitely taking all this in. This is like such good information and so needed. Personal level, as well as, whoever else is listening. I hope this is resonating really well with you, because I'm feeling this. I'm definitely feeling a lot of emotions as I'm listening to each one of you speak, and that transmission that you passed through, Punya, was just amazing. I like wanted more. I was like sitting there, I was like, no, don't stop those. So thank you for that. And then just this entire conversation has really, really, really been wonderful. It has been. I feel good. I want more.
Well, tune in 2 weeks from now for our next podcast.
So yes.
Yeah.
Joy, are you still here with us too? Oh, sorry, Gaitrie. Did you feel complete?
I'm complete. Yeah, I'm good.
I think maybe Joy had to
Well,
pop off.
I am here.
Oh,
I'm definitely like settling into my experience here, but I'm really grateful that I got to pop in, even though it was late. I'm so grateful for you guys having me, and for having such a beautiful sisterhood to land myself into. I'm so grateful that I get to share my exciting adventures with you guys. It's really special. So thanks for being my sisters.
oh, completely in alignment, the timing and everything. So grateful to journey with you. How cool. And Punya, thank you so much for being our guest today on this podcast. And is there anything that you'd like to share to kind of wrap up, or anything else that you wanted to say before we close?
I am so grateful to have had this exploration and this adventure with each and every one of you, and just everyone who's quantumly tuning in and listening right now as well. It's like, yeah, it's just beautiful. It's really beautiful, the magic and the possibilities that can happen when souls of curiosity gather. And so I'm grateful. I'm really grateful to be here. yeah, thank you so much for having me. I would love to come on again. Yeah, it's just a blast. And yeah, like definitely recommend the Sophia Code. I think it's coming through a lot. And it's funny, Joy, I actually started the call today with the Angel of Alignment from the Sophia Code. So it felt really appropriate. And yeah, it's just really beautiful. Like if there's one thing I can share, it's like that book really changed my life and my experience. And I only read it once. And then I started to I started to mentor with the Dragon Tribe mentors like a year later. And I actually wanted to share something that I created. It's called the Ascended Master Manifesto. And it's a 40-page at-home guidebook and ritual book that can really help people kind of take their divinity off of a pedestal. And it was channeled to me 4 weeks into quarantine by Mother Mary. I was in a bath and Mother Mary channeled it to me. And I had not even opened up the Sophia Code. Like it was like a year after I'd done the book. And Mother Mary like channeled it to me. And I literally in 40 pages in 3 weeks, like it was profound. Like I don't even really an extraordinary experience. And then that is what invigorated my relationship to mentor with the Ascended Masters deeper. And it's been so interesting going back into the codex and like connecting with Kaya Ra. And like, I'm like, whoa, like all of these things that are channeling through me, like are things that are being talked about like in this book and like conversations that she's having with the mentors. And I'm like, whoa, this is really, so it's very real. And I highly recommend that book. And I also definitely just wanted to share this at-home ritual book that I've created. I've received some really powerful information from beings who are using it, and just how it's really helping kind of with that making love to the moment and that mindfulness and presence. Like I had someone reach out to me today. It was just like, I'm finding the sheerest amount of joy in doing my laundry. And I didn't even know that was possible. And so, so yeah, so it's been really beautiful to kind of, work with Mother Mary and birthing that creation. And it feels like a very attainable thing for people to also have as a tool. And there's 7 rituals, 7 spirit rituals, 7 earth body practices, and 7 heart mind coherence, or not 7, a plethora of heart mind coherence exercises that really help your mind and heart work together. So it's a really beautiful experience. I did want to talk about that as well. Yeah.
Amazing. How can people access that?
Yeah. So I was just thinking that I'm like, where can so I have it just as like a separate link on my website. So you can't really see it from my website, but if anybody wanted to reach out to me personally at my email is Punya, Punya @bodhispace.com, which is BODHISPACE.com. And then you can also access it. Well, I don't know what's going on with Instagram because Instagram loves to censor me and my work on Instagram, which has really been fun. Since becoming an influencer on there, it's been a really wild experience, and that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, so it's on the link in my Instagram as well. But I've been sharing about it on my stories, so you can always access it through my Instagram. Just reach out to me on Instagram as well. My Instagram is The Venus Legacy, all one word, and you can just send me a DM. Venus like the planet, The Venus Legacy. So yeah, and I would love to, if you have questions, and I'll just send you the page so you can read more about it. And I actually have 3 angel code transmission prices. So you get to choose your price. You get to choose your journey based on the transmission and the frequency that you want to accept for your ascended mastership. So
love it.
Yeah,
That's awesome. We'll put all those links in the show notes and on the
perfect.
Yeah, so we'll make sure it's included. Great.
Yeah, it's a cool experience. So it's, and I worked with a graphic designer from Italy who was just like, she was like, I want to work with an entrepreneur. And like 5 hours later, I found her on Instagram, and it was like this like really divine aligned, like she was from my birth town. I'm like, whoa, this is really wild. So there's been a lot of activity holding the experience with Mother Mary activating it. So thank you for sharing it.
Oh, magical. Wow. Well, I'll just, does anyone have anything that they want to say before we close sacred space? Is there any like last burning? Okay. Just wanted to check. So I just want to thank each of you, each of these amazing women who have shown up today, who are walking the path day by day, and who I am so blessed to have as sisters of light. And I do want to say thank you to each of the guides, guardians, angels, ascended masters, plant devas, and animal spirits who assisted us in this session today. Thank you so much for your presence and guiding light. Please continue to guide each of our hearts toward greater alignment with our higher selves for each of our individual highest good and the highest good of all. Thank you, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you for holding such a sacred container, doing this work.
Total pleasure. This was great. All right, ladies, have a wonderful night. We'll all connect soon. Mwah.
So much
Ciao.
love.
Bye. Thanks.